I've been in television for 40 years now. I started at an NBC station, then CBS, then ABC. And I can tell you from working at those places, the bosses are overwhelmingly liberal. But what really galls me about the news divisions at NBC, CBS, ABC, and the government media like NPR is that they don't admit that they're liberal. Oh, we're just right down the middle, they tell me. And they believe it because they live in a bubble, a liberal bubble. In certain parts of Washington and New York City, everybody thinks like they do. If you think differently in those neighborhoods, you're wrong, if not evil. And once I revealed myself to be a classical liberal, someone who believes in limited government, the people in the bubble turned on me. The late Peter Jennings, my anchor at ABC, when he'd see me in the hall, he would do this. I was an embarrassment to him. And at ABC, many of the stories I wanted to do were rejected. But that's not censorship. A news organization has every right to be as biased as yours want to be. It's only censorship when government tells you to shut up. And because we just have one government, and government is force. Which brings me to NPR, National Public Radio. So what exactly is that? Because it gets money from us taxpayers. I would think they'd be extra careful not to favor one political view, but they do. There is lots of bias at NPR. And that brings us to Juan Williams, who, as you probably know, got fired by NPR because he said the wrong things. The wrong things, or because you worked at Fox and they just despised Fox, and they were looking for an excuse.
I think that's true, too, but I think I said the wrong things and then gave them a pretext for which to throw me out the door.
And yet, you are a registered Democrat. I would call you a liberal. You've said that Wall Street, a bunch of greedy pigs. We need to tax people to help the deficit. Social Security is financially stable. These are liberal positions that I think are totally wrong, but we won't go there. And yet, why didn't they I mean, what was their problem with you?
Well, I think I wasn't their kind of black guy. I mean, I think that if you have views that are at all at variance with their orthodoxy, you are seen as a threat. I mean, dealing with minorities, for example, their fail-safe attitude was always Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton.
And if you had to rank it, they fired you because of what you said or just because of the fact that you appeared on Fox sometimes? What was the bigger factor?
Well, you have to understand, they didn't even want me to identify myself as working for NPR when I appeared on Fox's primetime shows.
Fox is just icky. Oh, those are poisonous people, right?
Exactly. And I was icky for associating and being there. Now, I think that it's important to have discussion and debate and to take people on, and if you're with Bill O'Reilly or Sean Hannity, you say, hey, here's a different perspective. And you know what? It's one of the surprises of my life, because as you describe me, I think lots of people would say, I have lots of liberal points of view. But it's interesting to me, when I was growing up, I always thought it was the Archie Bunkers of the world who were the ones who, you know, couldn't understand why Meathead was protesting the Vietnam War, or why the daughter was more insistent on feminist rights, or didn't want a black neighbor. But as I've grown older, I've come to understand it's the left wing of this country that's truly intolerant and self-righteous, and I think that's no better represented than at NPR.
Let's just take a look at the actual statement you made that was NPR's excuse for firing him. He was on the O'Reilly Factor and giving Bill a hard time, actually, for what he said on The View, where he said Muslims attacked us on 9/11. But you also said this about how you sometimes feel on an airplane.
When I get on a plane, I got to tell you, if I see people who are in Muslim garb, and I think, you know, they're identifying themselves first and foremost as Muslims, I get worried. I get nervous.
Now, when you said that, do you have any idea it was going to bother somebody?
No, and as you pointed out, I was so glad that you did that, John. This was a very serious debate, you know, about the fact that Bill had said Muslims killed us on 9/11, and then I was saying, well, look, Bill, I'm not going to play politically correct games with you. In fact, Muslims did attack us on 9/11. And to this day, I get nervous when I see people who are dressed in Muslim garbs at the airport. And then I went on to say, but of course, we have to be careful, because what we're really talking about, and Bill had done this on that View show, he had said he's talking about radical Islam, radical Muslims. I said, we have to be careful the way we say it because we don't want to inspire people like that minister down in Florida who wanted to burn the Koran, or somebody who wants to cut a Muslim's throat, that we've been through these situations, and America's a land of religious liberty, and we want to have some protection. So I was saying all that, John, but the fact that I said what I said about being nervous, and the fact that I believe that the CAIR, this Council on American Islamic Relations, viewed me as not only associating and talking with the terrible Bill O'Reilly, but supporting much of what he had said in terms of Muslims killing us, they then thought, you know what, we can't get Bill, but we can get Juan Williams. And they went to NPR and they launched an internet campaign against me, calling me a bigot, calling for me to be fired. And, you know, even when I spoke to the woman who was firing me, I said, this is the craziest thing. I said, you know, I've worked with you for more than 10 years. Don't I have a right to come in and talk about it? Her response was, there's nothing you can say, nothing you can do. You're a bigot.
So you write a book about this, Muzzled, the assault on honest debate. You say in there that a chapter you titled The Provocateurs, you say hosts like Sean Hannity and Rachel Maddow create conflict, drive out rational discussion. Do I do that? Am I a provocateur by taking a political position, a libertarian position? But am I driving out rational discussion?
I don't recall you driving out discussion, because I have arguments with you all the time, and I feel free to do so. But what I found was that people reacted to this and said, wait a minute, you know, it's unbelievable. You can't say what's on your mind in this country. We've reached the point where you can't just tell people honestly what you feel, that you have to bite your tongue. So many people said to me, you know, I don't have conversations anymore in the office. I don't have conversations at school. I won't even admit to my feelings because I'm afraid that someone will say, you're offending me, this is harassment, this is a hostile environment, or you're fired.
Well, not here at Fox, where we
Thank
get to
you.
say these things.
I appreciate
and
that.
You have a new career. Thank you, Juan Williams.